on all of the streams, which is very exciting.
All of them.
Turned out all I need to do is log into Zoom on the website.
Oh, well, now we know a thing.
Now we know a thing.
Are you recording as
Okay,
well? Still.
I will record as well. It does not have the we are live thing, but let's assume. Love that for all of us. Okay. So on the assumption that all of the technology has lined up and is working. Hello, welcome to the first Allographic interviews, where we'll be talking to one of our writers, and in this case, one of our most stalwart attendees, supporters, general making things happeners, from our in venue events to our online open mics, workshops, write-ins, and festival stages when we've had them. Beth Hartley, hello, how are you doing? You all right?
It's working and everything. Look at
It's
that.
working. We're doing technology. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. So we're here today to talk to you about your book, A Holding.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess the first question is, how you feeling about it?
Oh, abject terror.
Okay.
I hate this part. This part where you feel like you're jumping off a cliff. I don't like that part.
Just
But
to make it clear to everyone, we've done all the edits, we've got the cover art, it's with the printers. Now we're going.
yeah. No, it's that bit where you know it will be fine. And it was fine before. When we did it before, it was okay.
Mhm.
Um, but this is a very different kitten. So it's feels I
Good.
don't know, it feels more trepidatious this time.
Okay. Now you've got to. This one has taken a lot longer to come out.
Yeah.
What If Stars, your first collection with us, kind of went from concept to production quite
It
quickly.
did.
Yes, didn't have as much time to think about it, I guess. But this one has been a longer process. Would you like to talk us through something of what it was? Because it was a much longer,
It
more
was, and it's a
complete,
lot
yeah.
longer than that, really, in a way, I think.
Hmm.
So what we brought out What If Stars August 21.
Sounds about right, yes.
That sounds about right.
Mhm.
And we did all the thing, and I think one of the reasons that we did it quickly was because we went, oh, digital Edinburgh Fringe and things like that. So and there was a lot of online events that have been happening, and we just kind of jumped in the river and did it. Well, because we could, so we did. I remember emailing Leanne and going, just had this weird idea. Tell me if this is properly crazy. Isn't going to work, digital launch at the fringe, and she just went, oh no, good idea, like it. So I went, okay, let's do that then. That'll be fine. Um, and because I'm the kind of person who's often thinking about what comes next,
Mhm.
I was busy reading from it and gigging from it and sending it off to people who were buying it for a little while. Um, I think it was probably back end of 22, maybe middle of 22, when I started to think, what is the next thing? What is the next thing that I want to think about doing?
Oh, wow.
And I had a conversation with a number of people I know who have multiple books. I said, how do you know when you're ready for the next thing, whether that's the next show, the next piece of art that you make, the next thing? How do you know? And the answer was pretty much, you'll know.
Ah.
And I was like, oh, thank you very much. That answers that. And then I don't even know who I was talking to now. And somebody said to me, I think I might have asked me about like what I'd been writing about, or what themes I write about.
Mhm.
And I said, I've been thinking about home,
Mm.
and my brain auto completes. So it automatically basically completed that line. I've been thinking about home and all that that means. So the initial name for this manuscript was "and all that that means." It's a Deacon Blue line because I'm that person.
Big Deacon Blue fan.
And I
Yes.
can't. Yeah. So but also it made me think about what I was had been writing, what I've written about all the way along.
Hmm.
And as soon as I sort of understood that, things started to collect around that idea, and I sat
Mm.
down and I basically started off by sitting down and pulling out every poem I could think of that I'd written it was around the themes of home. Home is as a physical place, home as a person, home as a difficult thing. And I think somewhere around there, somewhere in space when I was starting to think about that, we had a workshop at Allographic with Giovanna McKenna. Lovely, lovely Giovanna. And I think it was just a collision. I can't remember what the proximity of those things were, me starting to think about that, and then us having this extremely deep and exceptionally well put together workshop. It's a very hard workshop, wasn't it? Not an easy, not easy stuff that she had us do, but done in a very compassionate but quite driven way. I think 5 things in a what, like 2 hour space or something like that. And 3 of the 5 pieces that I put together are the basis of a holding. So I think brick dust, room, and re-room, which is now titled 4 and 14. They were 3 of those 5. I also wrote a poem about growing up in a small town, and I don't think I called it Small Town Blues, but I might have done. Um, and then the fifth one was just something that was very, very personal. It would have been, it was a, getting things out kind of a piece. So yeah, started there.
A lot. So you have all of these these things that have sort of swirled around, accreting around the core of a
Yes.
book. Gone through a few titles. I seem to remember something like Seed and Solace being one of the
Yeah.
titles as well.
I took a poll. Yeah. I had like 6 things. I have some shelves above where I'm sitting at my desk. I
Mhm.
have some shelves, and I think we had about 6. I've got the little bits of paper somewhere. Um, I stuck them up above my desk so that I could look at them for a while. I don't even think a holding was one of those.
Wonderful.
I had all sorts of the suggestions. In the end, I had about 5 or 6 things, whatever it was. And
Mm.
I literally took a straw poll of everybody that I could think of, the people I'd asked advice of, like, oh, hey, I've got this thing. I'm trying to figure out what it's called. What of these courses? So it nearly was called Seed and Solace. And it wasn't until I'd had everything I thought of, my editor just went, nope. Until I'd gone away from it, where I think we were almost done. Like
Mm.
really, really almost done. And I can't remember where this came from. But when I put it on, I went, oh, there you go. And for me, titling things is it's a bit like putting a lid on something. It stops moving about when you do that. And
Mm.
when I put this one on, it all went, thank you. And it just relaxed. And so
Mm.
I was like, oh, and I've messaged my editor and said, no, I think it's called this. I think this is what it's called,
Mhm.
because it's calm. My brain's calmed down now. It's not going, I'm not sure about it. It's just going, yep, that's the one.
All the pieces fit at that
Yeah.
point. It was the right kind of capstone for it.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, this does sound like, I mean, I think this one has been much more of a collaborative effort than the previous one in a lot of ways.
Yes, different kind of collaboration as well.
Mm.
So I actively sought out an external editor for this
Hmm.
after talking to you and talking to you about who it might be.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to put myself under discipline, essentially.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of thought about Miriam, I think, sort of, in like over there somewhere, and said, well, I know who edited the first one, or lots of the work in the first one, and would this be an approach I could make? And you said, absolutely. So I did. So I worked with Miriam San Marco at Word Makers and Silence Breakers to edit this manuscript. It was hard.
Mm.
It was a hard job. It was also a hilarious job by spells. Well, we just looked at a couple and went, "Oh no, 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 let's not do that." And there was a long exercise that they had me do about lengthening my lines, lengthening my written lines.
Okay.
And they left me after a session, said, "Go away and do that to all of those other ones that we identified needed that doing to it." And I worked my way through and put notes on a lot of things and that sort. And I did it to one, and I got halfway through it, and I was like, "I don't like it. It's wrong." And so I left it for the next session, sort of
Hmm.
half lengthened, only one leg let down, And I went in, and they just went, "Oh no, no, put it back, put it back." So it's not right. It lost. It literally lost its edges,
Mm.
and it's a very craggy kind of poem. So, um, but that was also that. Those things are also interesting as well.
Mm.
And we kind of sat and looked at things and went, "Oh, that's interesting. That one doesn't do it. I wonder what, oh, that's curious. Wonder why that doesn't do that." So, um, some were, some had a lot of editing, some of them none at all, which is sadly very quite interesting thing to sit in. So, like the final poem in the glebe, nothing. They just said no, it's perfect. It will pocket by
It
itself.
is gorgeous, to be fair. That one, oh, absolutely beautiful. So yeah.
Yeah. So it was a. I deliberately put myself in the way of that process
Yeah.
this time because I wanted to see what that was like and what that did for my work as well.
Mm. That, yeah, and I love this. This is very you to my mind. You often push. You say, okay, so I've done these things. What if we go over here? Uncharted territory, a little bit scary, but I'm going to do it anyway, which very admirable. I really love that that's yeah, that's a big part of your philosophy with creativity is you're not content to just stop and go, oh, well, I've done a bunch of stuff, I'll just keep doing the same stuff. You're like, what about a different form? Or what about getting people in to look at it with a different perspective and all the rest of it and looking at stuff. So and I personally I think your work's richer for it because you're always kind of seeking out new ways of doing.
Yeah, it's been I write differently now,
Mm.
and I'm fascinated by that kind of process of that you're like evolving without knowing about it.
Hmm.
It just becomes part of your inner editor and your. So I was just thinking today I've been working on something and I've essentially chopped a great big chunk off the end. There's nothing wrong with what I took out.
Hmm.
It just maybe doesn't belong there. I suddenly rolled into a bunch of rhyming and it clashes with the rest of it. I'm like, okay, well, what if we just take you out and put you over there for a bit? And maybe you need rewriting. Maybe you were just getting a concept down, so you came out in rhyme. And maybe there's I need to free write or something around that to see
Mm.
whether there's an ending, a different bit of content that's going to go either in there or somewhere else. I think, I mean, from my perspective, I always want something to be the best I can be at the best I can be,
Hmm.
and the best expression of what I'm trying to get across. And I deliberately sought out rigor. Oh, and I got it.
From Miriam, yes, you'll
Yes.
always get that.
But in like for me, I mean, it was hard, but it is ultimately been, I think we ultimately came to a place where we were both really happy with what came out at the end of it. And it was immensely challenging and it was an immensely warming process as well. And I am so incredibly grateful for Miriam and also for like just deciding to go for it a little bit. I
Mm.
wanted to push what I thought I might be able to do a bit more.
Hmm.
I think because I've spent a lot of time as well in the last 3, 4 years working with people who write in very different ways.
Mm.
Like when we were still actively doing Write Club, and well, we have a lot of different writers that come to the writing Allographic, and I've done workshops on form and trying different things. I'm always kind of game to have a go at writing something different because you never know what might turn up. And I like that. I like that about poetry. I think it's important.
I've personally I've found that the poets I admire the most, especially in terms of their ability to challenge themselves, often have quite a scientific kind of approach to things. Like it might go wrong, but also it might not. Let's find out. So literally experimental, knowing that the first time you do something may not work at all. So we're just gonna see what happens anyway. We'll learn from that. So yeah, I see a lot of that in your practice, and
I'm
it's very
glad.
impressive. Yeah.
I'm glad. I think that also, like, yeah, we were grinding every week. You just
Mm,
do something stupid, get it out your brain, get your brain moving. And I think that taught me that. And I think as well during lockdown, I did NaPoWriMo properly for the first time
hmm.
because, well, I was at home and I'm nothing else to do. So, and I was like, well, I could have a go at this time and devote some brain time to it.
Hmm.
And that, get something down, move on, do something else the next day. That is very sort of, that will teach you a few things one
Mm.
way or another. Um, and I enjoy that process now. I find it very challenging. I don't know whether I can't remember if I did it this year or not. I
It was the
think I
first
might.
year I didn't, so I'm not sure.
I think I did kind of like maybe mostly, but yeah, that's the thing that you've always said about like 30 starts. And
Yes.
I had to properly get my head in that. Like, you don't have to complete every day. You don't, you might, you might not. You might go back to that. You might go,
Hmm.
I've got things where I'll scribble on it, I'll write whatever I've written for the day. And one of the, yeah, I did do it this year because I had one of them and I'd written on a post-it note, stuck it, and it just said, "This needs more trees."
We might
Or
need to,
wet, so wet. One of them had a lot of watery there, so this needs more wet, like wet words, watery words. So I knew where I wanted to take things, but
yeah.
this needs more trees.
Just to explain to anyone who's going, they're talking in tongues. NaPoWriMo is the poetry equivalent of NaNoWriMo. So instead of National Novel Writing Month, it's National Poetry Writing Month. So for the whole of the month of April, people across the world try to write 30 new poems, and they can't all be haiku or whatever. But yeah, the idea is that, as Beth says, there at least 30 starts. Or frankly, if you get seven, but it's seven you wouldn't have written otherwise if you hadn't been challenging yourself to write new work, or even one.
Yeah,
Well done. That was your April poem that
yeah,
you wouldn't have written otherwise. So
yeah. The
yeah.
first time I did it, that was how I did it. I literally, it was do something every day,
Yeah.
and it could be a line, it could be a poem, it could be a bit of editing.
Hmm.
It's just getting into that thing
The
about
discipline of
doing
it, yeah.
something every day. Yeah.
Mhm. I was moving, that's right, I was moving house this year, which is
Oh
why
yeah, that would make
yes,
sense.
April was like, no, April is boxes.
A box a day.
National Box Filling Month, yes. Okay, so you talked about your work with Miriam.
Mhm.
Um, you've also had other folk helping you along the way as well.
I have. I used a beta reader this time, which I
Hmm.
didn't do before. Um, so that was the two things. It was really to essentially it's to say, what's that like? What's that like if you do that?
Hmm.
Um, so Rick Dove was my beta reader for this book, and he was who I wanted to ask, and he was also who Miriam was like, you should ask Rick. Um, and it's, I mean, they'd worked with Rick before.
Hmm.
I forget on which book now. Can't remember now off the top of my head. They'd worked together before, editor
Hmm.
into beta, and I'd inquired with Rick about editing actually originally,
Hmm.
and he said no, but I do this. I said good. I'm just gonna put you in a little pocket over here for a while. I might need that later. Um, and that was that was quite scary because I'm looking for people who are going to tell me if something's up to snuff.
Hmm.
And I have an immense amount of respect for Rick and the way that he works. So sending my work to somebody who is not only a national slam champion, but a massively critical thinker and
Hmm.
um, is quite. My impression of Rick is that they have a discipline to their writing as well and process. So I knew I was putting myself in front of that somewhat. Um, but it turned out again to be a really beautiful thing and surprisingly I'm always surprised. Like I'm just constantly surprised when people go, "That's really nice. I like it." And we're similar age, Rick and I, and so
Yeah.
he got a lot of little things that I wasn't really expecting people to get, and that just makes me chuckle. He's like, "Oh, that's that thing."
If you don't mind, I'm actually going to read his review of the book because we've got quite
Oh,
a packed series of pages with, I've
we
just called it
have.
praise for the
That's
book,
that's
and
what I'll be talking
yeah,
about.
it's beautiful. So you're going to have to imagine Rick's beautiful dulcet tones here, but yeah. He says, it felt like a genuine blessing being able to read this manuscript at the time that I did. So many of the themes and ideas resonated with me at the point of life where we find ourselves, both parent and child, in the pincer of the sandwich generation, having to be responsible caregivers all around. A palette of grounded, earthy tones with a scent of the sea conjure up intimate moments that retain a universal quality and carry the reader from revelation to comforting embrace. The holding. Beth Hartley crafts a delicate narrative with strands of Gen X musical references, nostalgia, pathos, and deep, abiding love that feels at times like a cozy chat with a best friend over tea and biscuits on a rainy afternoon. If you can have a hug in a mug, then this collection is a warm blanket of a pamphlet, all at once giving warmth and acting as a shield against the elemental forces of a tumultuous part of adulthood. This is what you get when you ask poets to review your
Yeah,
work, isn't it? You get gorgeous work like that.
you do, and there are lots of reasons why there are some particular connections for Rick and I
Mhm.
think it's important to tell people that I was putting together this manuscript or working on this manuscript in the immediate aftermath of my father's death.
Yeah.
Um, it's not it's not a book about grief. There is grief in it
Mm.
because there's grief in many things, but it's not a book about grief. I just happened to be there, but in a weird way, I actually think that's part of what made me kind of say, have at it.
Mm.
I wrote the first What If Stars was put together at a similar in a similar sort of way after the death of somebody that we knew and loved very much.
Yeah.
But if you let it, that puts a fire under your bum to do things, and I chose to kind of move to go, well, all right then. I guess I'm
Well,
doing this now.
she would. I think she would definitely be approved, to be fair. But yes.
Yeah, so that was that year, 2021. That was, yeah, do NaPoWriMo was April, edited all of May, and apparently June was putting a book together month. I mean, who knew that was a thing? And that, so yeah. But this one had been kind of rumbling along, and I'd done some written. I did a course with For Book's Sake in the January.
Oh yeah.
I did a howling, which was a very challenging. I figured I was howling anyway. I might as well get on. But that was a course that I found very challenging in lots and lots of different ways.
Hmm.
But ultimately useful and reflective. I did lots of not always a lot of poetry writing, but a lot of reflective writing about
Mm.
writing, which was interesting. Um, and lovely, interesting, very varied prompts from various people over at sadly dearly departed For Book's Sake. And yeah, I think sometimes when you're in the raw, it can make you want to closet yourself. And I definitely
Mm.
physically did that.
Mm.
But also, I think it made me kind of open to do other things in a way. I don't really understand what that's about. I just know it was like that. And so I went, oh, okay, I'll do that then. I'll be all right. And I did other things in amongst all of the edit. Like, I think I was editing with Miriam for about 6 months, about
Uh-huh.
six or seven sessions, and we both did a festival like in the middle, which was quite. And they were saying to me, "Well, actually, I'm going to be doing, I can't remember a big thing in Bournemouth. The names of things are escaping me tonight. But they had a big, lots of gigging and lots of organising that they had going on, and I went to Morecambe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Because
what you
why
get
wouldn't
for
you?
saying yes to stuff. Get yourself on a festival bill and have to email Matt Panesh and go, sorry, wait, is that me? And have
Yeah.
to go, yeah, it's you. I'm like, okay, good. That's okay. Let's do that then. So yeah, I did that too. And that was a big thing for me.
Mm.
A really interesting experience. Met some amazing people. Met some people that I'd known online. There's a big kind of internet reunion thing happening. That was really nice.
Mm.
And it really made me again, I think it was a really good thing to do at that time because it made me think a lot about what am I doing? What am I doing with this work? Where do I want it to go?
Okay. So I think you possibly already answered this question that I had lined up already, but let's just kind of, I don't know, focus in on it a bit. Um, it gets to a point when you've been a poet for a while, or if you've been an organizer for a while, when suddenly people start asking your advice and you go, oh, I've no idea. And then you realize actually you have got loads of ideas because you've done a bunch of things. So, in that spirit, if someone was to come to you and say, I'm thinking of putting together a poetry collection, what advice do you have? What would you be saying to that?
I think I would be kind of morphing a lot of the advice that I've been given.
Hmm.
So, so your advice to people is always think about what you want it to do. Think about if you want is what you want because not it will not what every poet wants isn't the same, and you don't have to be the same. So some
Mm.
people, for me, I wanted to publish a book since I was about 7. Like it's been a really long held aim of mine to be a writer. This is not the kind of writer I thought I would be. um some people are performers and slammers and they want to push themselves to get to the national slam finals.
Hmm.
some people are performers, they want a gig,
Some
they want to
people
write a show
are
maybe.
performers and slam.
Um, they want to take time to explore themes in a bigger way. I think like Leanne's show would probably be a really, like her Edinburgh show would be a really good example of that. Things that
Mm.
have coalesced around a theme for a really long time. That would be skip, skip, skip. And I'm talking to her about that. And one watching other people I know who are doing art with poetry, visual art with poetry. I have a friend who puts poetry into clay tiles
Oh,
amongst all the
damn.
things that she does.
Okay.
Well, that's yeah, she's amazing. But she also works with young people, getting them to write and be in nature and things like that. And so some people are using poetry as a tool like that, and some people are happy just writing. They don't particularly want anything from it, and that you don't have to have anything from it. But if you do want something to, if you want to do something and be directional with your work, I think it's important to know what it is. I'm not a performance poet in the sense of that we knew of before lockdown. In I think I am in the sense that we all are now, because that's how that
Mm.
works. To me, that is something slightly different. I know how to read really well.
Yes, you do.
It comes with the territory, but think about what it is you want to do with it and do that.
Hmm.
Be prepared to, jump off a metaphorical cliff and take risks and try stuff.
Hmm.
And I think for me, being in a writing space with a lot of people who write very different things for 2 or 3 years, that was really, because there's some amazing brains in amongst that group. Suddenly
Oof.
go,
Yeah.
why don't we just write Triolet today? And you go, oh, what's one of those? So there we go, it's one of these. And I go, yes, we can write those. And then you go off and write them. Or I've been trying to figure out how you would, write a villanelle with a robot. Write a poem of all the, a list poem of all the poems you haven't written yet.
Ah, yes.
Ironically, actually, one of those poems is actually in that book. One of the ones that was on
Yes.
that list, which was write an ode to the glory that is tomato soup, the grilled cheese sandwich. And actually, that the poem that I wrote for that is in the book.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So do that. Be
Hmm.
prepared to have a go at things. You might get it like screamingly wrong, but if you're in good places with people, you'll either go, "This is not for me, is it?" And people will go, "No," or you'll go, yeah, but I like that part. I wonder if I can pick myself up,
Hmm.
figure out what's wrong with it, take it apart again,
Mm.
and put it back together, and figure out how to, you know, build it with better parts or whatever it is you want to do. Um, and the other thing I think is my advice, which is my advice whenever people ask me for advice, is give it a place to live. Like
Mm.
make a time for it.
Hmm.
uh Make a notebook for it. Make it whatever it is, however you write, make a folder on your phone.
Hmm.
I work in a big A4 notebook because I have a big handwriting, and um I discovered that if I did that, then I essentially am writing down one side of the page. Less so since I work with Miriam. My lines expand a bit further now, but then I'm editing somewhat in the other
Yeah.
half of the
Yeah.
page. There are big things where one half is all my blue pen and the other half is all the purple stuff that because I edit in purple, that I'm putting in there. It's purple, and only when the page is unintelligible do I then put it into type, because I
Gotcha.
can't see what it's supposed to be anymore. Um, there was a lot of purple pen. There was been a lot of purple pen the last 18 months. Um, yeah, but I think deciding what you want it to be, like I've been trying to submit to magazines and things more, and I find
Mm.
it quite
Mm.
hard. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I I want to publish, and so that's a thing I have to get my guts up to do. But I found some amazing resources as well to do that with. Did you want I just realised we talked about collaboration and didn't talk about the
Mm.
art. Did you want to talk about
Yes, I would love to hear you talk
the
about the because if you hadn't
um
said that, I was going to prompt you anyway.
okay. Um Same team. Like, I'm really super lucky that people that I know are immensely talented. And so the difference with this one was that I had a visual idea in my head.
Ah.
When I settled on the title, I could see. And so I went to Andy Talbot, who took
Hmm.
the cover photographs for Water Stairs, and said, I'd like to ask you to do this again. And I've kind of got an idea. I just don't know how to make it work. And we talked about it for a bit back and forth.
Hmm.
Um, and we figured out how we were going to get, how they were going to take the shots that they took for the cover.
Hmm.
And then I went back to James at Social Sniper, who is a well, they both are friends of mine, but like he lives there and I live down the road. I've known James for years. And him doing the What If Stars cover started out as a gag. Getting into doing a bit of graphic design, and I sort of jokingly said to him, "Oh, when I have a book, I should get you to do the cover." And it was one of those things where he went, "Actually, you know what? I should do that. I should actually do that." And so when I approached him about the first one, he went, "Really? Yeah, definitely." This one was very different. We
Mm.
went through a lot of different iterations of it, but when the final one came in, different lettering, it was it's like the most comfortable slap in the face you've ever
Ah.
had. And again, it's that thing about it goes quiet.
Mm.
And I knew, because James had shown me several different fonts and things for the lettering,
Mm.
and they were all lovely, but they weren't right. And we'd said, no, it needs to be bolder than that. And he put this very blocky lettering on it. And I just said, yeah, that one. It's that one. That's the
Shall
one. Yeah.
shall we show people? Shall we
Yes, have you got it to show?
I have got it to show. I will
Because I've
see
only
if I
got the
can.
thumbnail and it's only got the shoulders on it.
I'll see what I can do about sharing it. Should work.
It makes me grin, very cheesy. I really love it.
Let's hope this works. La la la. Okay, there it is. Do you want to talk us through this? How this beautiful thing came about?
We just had this image of the arms of a hug,
Hmm.
and I mean it's no secret that that's my coat.
Yeah.
That's my coat. My mum made me a beautiful coat a couple of years ago, and that's my coat. And I really love my coat. I love my mum, and I really love my coat, as well. And that she makes beautiful things. And James took, so he had the pictures that we'd taken that got
Hmm.
taken, and then I took some like close-up texture shots of the coat fabric, which is
Hmm.
quite unusual.
Yeah.
And he did this all over texture thing, which I love. But it's going to be soft touch laminate as well, isn't it?
Oh, yes, so it's very, very
It's going to
touchy-feely.
be
Yeah.
touchy, and the idea that we could make a tactile cover that took root quite early, didn't it?
Mm,
And we're like,
yeah.
oh, it's a fabric thing, and it's going to feel like fabric. It became a like that became a thing for me when I explained to James that that was what we were going to do.
Hmm.
That's one of the reasons why I love working with him, because I sort of feed him information, and also he sits in your manuscript when he works with you. So
Yes.
he had a copy of the manuscript, and he properly gets in it and lives in it
Mm.
for a while, and sort of wiggles around in it for a bit, um, and thinks about what you're writing about and where you're going. And he writes as well, so he
Yes.
knows
Yeah.
about that process.
Well, that's how we knew him first, wasn't it? Was as
Yeah,
a
he's
poet
poet.
performing at an open mic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also he was like he's a friend of a friend. So I
Hmm.
know him through another friend, and I met him, and we used to we used to sit in the back of Cafe Nero on a Friday night when I was waiting for my daughter to come out of dance class.
Hmm.
We would sit and I'd be billing, quite often be like billing clients for my day job, and
Yeah.
just tidying up the week really. And then if I had done all that, I would be sitting writing, and sometimes we would sit and write together. Sometimes we'd just shoot the breeze. And sometimes we would be talking about bigger things.
Hmm.
And his art style is very punchy, very political,
Yeah.
very, very in your face. And when I first approached him, I was quite scared the first time round. But he's actually done more book covers and album art since
Mm.
as well. And he's done some really in your face stuff, but he's also done some really much softer. And I think he quite enjoys having those different sides. So yeah,
Yeah.
the all over texture for this was a bit of a surprise, but I love it. I can't wait to touch it. I really want to. I really want to touch it.
As the layout person, it was a bit kind of okay, this is a lot to work with, but we got there. Yeah, and I think you're right. The font, where everything's very swirly in texture, to having a font that is very straight edged and bold and it
Like
properly stands
satisfying
out. Yeah,
in a
yeah,
strange way. But yeah,
yeah.
it's so I have to not look at the quotes. It makes me scared.
Oh, okay, well we'll
Really, some really wonderful people have done cover quotes for me for this, and it's such a privilege.
we will
Such
stop
a privilege.
sharing then if it will let me do so.
Oh,
Ah, it's hidden the thing. Right, let's do it.
yeah,
Fantastic. Yeah. So sneak peek. Talking of sneak peeks, do you fancy reading us a poem?
I could do that. What
Sounds
would you
like
like? I don't know what I have. So not so as by contrast, because we don't have anything come from the printer. This is my
a
this is my pink plastic binder with my manuscript copy.
nice.
This has had all the versions of it in it though. So I was collecting all my notes when I was working with Miriam.
I like that.
So I don't know what would be what I
Well,
what I would like.
maybe the one that's the intro to give people a flavour. Just the kind of the frontispiece work. Yeah.
Yes. Um this is called packing instruction. Wrap me in a blanket, soft quilts of cotton, and your arms. Fill the spaces with love blown into elegant packing peanuts, placed to stop me rattling in transit. All my anxieties are not included, not necessary for safety. Layer papers in the headroom, soft bedding for my journey, words to coat me, soak me in print, and protect me from all comers. Let the hands that pack the box belong to poets and to lovers. One for the gentle touch, the other for the words. No bumps or scratches. I am safely stowed and labelled. This way up, for anyone who notices. Post me to a place that will hold me right.
Mm. Oh, that is lovely. It is a hug.
I know you like
Uh,
that one.
I do love that one. I'm shameless about it. The and the glebe is also, but I'm not gonna have you
No, that's a
know.
different sort of
That's
holding.
very different holding, yeah. As is the super cheese sandwich, which is gorgeous. Um, but you also wanted to give people the opportunity to own this beautiful thing and a couple of other beautiful things. Now they've had a taste of what's inside it. So do you want to talk us through that?
I do. I have a competition running, which not enough people, which is still open because hardly anybody's entered it properly. So on Beth Hartley Poet, so you can find all my links at so the link tree prefix, and my suffix is poetry bees. So my shop is there, my my Facebook's there. There's some links to some interviews and some different things. There's some my stuff on Open Collab is there. Interview with Here Comes Everyone when I did Fire and Dust. I think the Darlings maybe. I can't remember. There's a lot of there's some different links on there, but on there is a link to Beth Hartley Poet. And if you go to my poet page, there is pinned at the top of a page a post with a brown paper parcel on it with a gift bow and a gift tag on it. In that part, so the game is guess what's in the parcel, right? So the deal is this: share, like my page, so that you can see if you win as much as anything else. Share that post and message me. This is the important part that people are not doing. People are sharing the post, which is amazing. But then send me your guess as to what is in the brown paper parcel. It is a book that we wrapped up. We reckon that a holding is going to be about the same size as, and we wrapped it up to see how much it would weigh for posting so that we could price up the posting. So guess what's in the parcel, and you could win a copy of What If Stars, a copy of a holding, a copy of the mystery book, and the thing that I haven't told anybody else yet, I think I haven't told anybody this, is that the fourth book is a copy of Becoming Marvelous by Kathy Carson, because Becoming Marvelous is about not having a home. And because Kathy is Kathy, this is a conversation that Kathy and I've had for a long time in a way where we actually haven't talked about it directly very much. But it's part of that. So the mystery book is another very grounded book of poetry.
Oh, I like that. A little bit of hint there. Yes.
Yeah. And so the deal is guess what's in the parcel, and you can win those 4 books, and hopefully there'll be some other goodies in the package as well. If you turns out you already have What If Stars, or it turns out you already have one of the other books in there, you can ask for that to be gifted to somebody else, or you can have it that you can then give to somebody. Obviously you can do that. So if you already have it, you don't have to worry, you can give them away. And share the poetry goodness. So Kathy's published by Flight of the Dragonflies, isn't
Don't know, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I ate it whole. It arrived because I've not been able to see the show, which is a great sadness to me.
Yeah, I really want to see it.
Yeah,
so much acclaim for it. I mean, Kathy's just an amazing poet
she
anyway.
really is clever.
As is the other poet in the parcel.
It's very true. The mystery part. I don't want to. It's very difficult because you could give it away very easily. But yeah, it was. I'm glad that was the choice because it's worked out quite well. But yeah, so guess what's in the parcel? Send your entry to me. Message me at Beth Hartley Poet on the Facebook page. If you're not on Facebook, you can my poet email is in the link tree as well. You can almost email it from there. And guess what's in the parcel, and you could win what's in the parcel and a load of other books. And I've asked, well, we've got some extra goodies for a holding as well, and which reminds me, I need to get in touch with Instant Print.
Yes,
that would be good. I'm not going to have such tough soft touch cards with them because I don't know what they feel like, and I'm worried they're going to feel like flock wallpaper, and I don't want that.
Okay, let's not do that
I'm
then.
just going to go for the matte. They do a very nice, slightly textured matte card. I don't think it's actually a postcard. I think it's like a compliment slip or something, but it feels really nice.
Instant print, yeah, very good for having things that make you go, oh, that's nice.
They
So,
do a
yes.
lot. They do a lot. I've also got. I don't know if this is going to show up. Can I show people the stamp?
Go for it. Yeah, see what happens.
I'll reach up and see if I can do it because my brother is immensely clever. So I traced a little. I haven't got it printed anywhere. I don't know if this is going to show. So I traced a little, what we refer to as the wonky heart of the arms
Yes,
off, and so he had made for me
just about shows up. Yes.
custom stamp. So all of the envelopes and stuff will be stamped with that stamp. If you can see, I don't think you can see it past the stamp post.
Right
It's a
there,
very
yeah.
simplified drawing of the arms, which is custom stamps online. That's who did that. Um, so there'll be that, and there's some other goodies as well. And I've asked James and I've asked Andy if they've got
Mm.
anything they want to put into that particular package. That would not a standard thing, but anything they want to put
In
into
the
that.
in the competition winner.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you'll hopefully get a bunch of fun stuff as well as the
Hmm.
books, which are also fun. So yeah, that's what you can do, and I would really love it. I think I have to say it is not Spectral by Fay Roberts. Because a lot of the
Apparently, a
guessing.
lot of people are guessing that it's chunky. It's way less chunky than this. This
Yeah,
isn't.
it's
It's
true.
epic.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with its chunkiness, but it's not Spectral. Um
Think
it's like a
think
different
smaller.
format as well, like shape wise, I think.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It's still a paperback, but it's not like Spectrum. But yes.
Spectral is a wonder by itself. Um so yeah, please do that. I would really love it. Basically I'll keep entries open until I don't know when. Probably depends when once I've got books in because I can't send anything out anyway until we've actually got the stuff
Physically got
print,
the books. Yes,
printers.
absolutely.
Yeah. So
Um,
I and
Inky,
I
Inky Little Fingers for those of you since we're naming people we're working with Inky Little Fingers. So yes, that should be soon, very soon.
soon. Yeah. So please do enter that. Um, I'd love that if people did that. I don't. Yeah, and then we'll look at when that's done, and we'll look at what we're going to do about an online launch.
Yes,
I've got exciting readers lined up for that.
really have.
I
This is
really have.
definitely the wonderful thing about doing online is that you don't have to drag people from different places. That they can just stay at home and you can beam them in, and you have
Yeah.
folk who
We.
otherwise wouldn't be able to access a local in
I love
venue
that.
one for
I
you.
love
Yeah,
that.
it's great. Yes.
I'm still thinking about considering whether I have an in-person launch.
Hmm.
Um, and we looked at whether we could stream into my venue of choice, but nobody really knows what that means. So we'd have a lot more work. I suspect possibly not in terms of internet capacity. But that will also be of a different can do different things. And
Mm,
I like that as well. I've seen
mm.
people do hybrid launches now and in person, like have it two separate.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I would like to make people aware of is that in amongst all of this process, there will be some money being raised.
Yes. That's what I was going to ask about. Go for it.
Yeah. So, home is really important, and home is the beginning of everything. And so, when you see me performing and reading from a holding, you'll see me wearing some merch from Shelter. Specifically, I would like to make a donation to the Shelter Legal Line
Mm,
because the Shelter Legal Line are the place you call when there isn't really anywhere else to call because they have an amazing way of handling housing advice. I was homeless, my family, my husband and my daughter, our daughter, the daughter, because she's a big girl now, she's a little girl then. Um, we were homeless as a family 12 years ago, and we had a complex situation,
mm.
which I can't go into. But the shelter were the place that we called to get some of the information that we needed because I think they still do this. So, but certainly at the time when we needed them, not only were they a repository of housing law, but they were also training people as part of their legal training. I think at one of the Newcastle universities could spend time training with the shelter line to learn about housing law.
Mm.
And I thought, what an amazing thing that they do, but also what an amazing opportunity
Mm.
to learn about quite a special, it's quite a specialized sort of area of law. And that's actually something which has resonance for a number of the people that have been collaborators on this book,
Mm-hmm.
both professionally and personally. And it's, we talk about the opportunity to give back, but also home is really, really important.
Yeah.
Home is everything, really.
Mm.
And it's really important to me that that's in the middle and in the mix of this. So I've got to order some bits and pieces, but think I'm going for they have a set of artist collabs at
Mm.
shelter, and there's one, a Rob Ryan, so that he's a this cutout, doesn't he? Cutout, I think. And it says it's got a massive key on it, and it says I only need one.
Mm. Yeah.
And yeah,
Powerful stuff.
we only needed one. I used to walk past a housing development while we were in sort of in the throes of this, and they
Mm-hmm.
had one house for sale for the longest time. We couldn't have afforded to buy that house or something. But I was like, but they've got one, I only need one. Like all I want is one. Um uh and so that thing about only needing
Mm.
one place to call home is really important. And also then you'll also see me out when I'm doing gigging. I'm gonna pick up their build more homes and the housing crisis, because we have this money, we have the capability, we have the space. It's not a myth. Um, and it's, yeah, a place to call home, I think is, it's so fundamental. And we see
Mm-hmm.
that across not just this country, but we see that in terms of displaced people,
Mm-hmm.
um, people's whose homes are bombed, people's whose homes are swept away in a natural disaster. If the need for shelter is absolutely fundamental to life, and all its forms, there's lots of reasons for that, and there's some things in the book as well that touch on some of those themes about being displaced, and yeah, writing about things I never thought I would write about.
But you've made things like housing first and, um, support for refugees and all sorts of other things, both explicitly and implicitly, big part of the book. It's another reason why I was so proud that you decided to come back to Allographic. So yeah, that made me very,
I think,
very happy and proud, definitely.
yeah, one of the things that Miriam really encouraged me to do was have an extras page
Yes. Yeah.
to talk about and be able to illustrate in the broader sense of that some of the things that are picked up. So you'll find information about Victor Ambros, the late great Victor Ambros, about a charity which helps people fairly local to me, actually only a couple of counties up.
Hmm.
A friend of mine's involved with them, which helps people specifically from Ukraine, actually,
Mm.
when when they settle here, helps them have resources to do that. And it's been an amazing community link. My friends work with him and said so many good things, encouraging, exciting things about working in his community, and that's, I really love that. Trying to think what else is there. Deacon Blue's in there because Deacon Blue should be everywhere. Um, so some of the musical influences as
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
pop culture references. Um, uh, How to Train Your Dragons in there, which was a thing for our family for a while. I forget what else is in there now. So you can find that on Linktree as well. So the
Hmm.
suffix for that is an extra holding. Um, there's Yeah, I'll make sure that there's a post on Beth Hartley Poet as well, which has got
Hmm.
all of those things, and you can find out. And if you don't want to enter the competition and you do want to pre-order, pre-orders are open. There's some interesting options. I'm not sure, we need to investigate. I don't think shipping to Europe is going to be a thing, but because of some of the
Oh,
exciting post-Brexit changes. But there's
yes.
things that you can order with the book as well. I'm going to leave that as a little mystery.
Yeah, exciting. Yes, so that great because this is fantastic. I didn't have to remind us that that was the thing. So yes, go pre-order the book. Very exciting. Going to be in our hands very soon. So yeah, there's a chance for you to get ahead of the crowd and pre-order your copy of A Holding from Beth there. All of those links are on her link tree. We'll post these with all of the live stream places. So it'll go on the YouTube and the Twitch and the Facebook and the Instagram and wherever else this is turning up. We'll make sure that the links in there for people to access. Yeah, anything else you want to say, or are we going to wrap this one up, as it were?
Buy books from living poets.
Yes, that
Yes.
one. Yes, buy books
There
from
are
Living
loads
Poets.
of them. They're all like, I know loads, and they're really cool and exciting. And lots of them are doing exciting things and exciting workshops. And um, yeah, do that. Like books make great Christmas gifts. I think that's what I
I
think.
definitely concur.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, lovely stuff. Thank you so much for spending time
You're
with us today,
welcome.
Beth. And live stream's going to go off now, recording's going to go off now, and yeah, hopefully we're going to be doing the unboxing thing very, very soon.
That'd be
That'd
cool.
be really good to share. Yes.
Yay.
Okay, right now I work out how to stop the live streaming because Zoom changed this a while ago. All right, thanks for joining us, folks. See you again soon. It's the recording stopped. How do we stop the other bit? This looks very slick and professional, I'm aware.
Awkward Zoom wave.
Awkward Zoom, awkward Zoom wave. Yeah. It's going very well. Might have to just shut down the meeting altogether, might be the way to do it. We'll just have a look over here. It's been ages since I've done this. And yeah, I'm gonna shut down the Zoom because I don't know how to stop the live stream.
I'll just leave.